Hello and welcome to the Project Falcon Punch guest list. I'm your host Dan, and today we're going to be discussing our most anticipated games of 2020. And by we, I mean the people you've already heard the top 5s from so far for 2019. That being Andy, Andrew Borman from P2P Online, Alex from the channel, Jack from Jakstalgia, and a couple others that you haven't heard from yet, including Scott, aka Orange Raccoon, myself, again, and also Liam Robertson. Obviously this is just completely down to our own personal preferences of what we're most looking forward to, so keep that in mind. But also, because there's so many great games coming out in 2020, there are a couple that probably aren't going to be mentioned here. So if you have any games that you're really looking forward to that aren't on this list, please do let us know in the comments down below, because there's actually loads more games even I'm looking forward to that no one got around to mentioning, like Resident Evil 3 and No More Heroes 3 and maybe Bayonetta 3. But anyway, enough of my honourable mentions. I think we'll just go straight into my pick for my most anticipated game of 2020, so please pass me, take it away. So last year I remember saying to you on this podcast when we did our most anticipated of 2019, I said like my three were Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2 and Bayonetta 3. And Bayonetta 3 we've not seen a peep since. Death Stranding actually came out and I didn't think it was going to. And Last of Us Part 2 got delayed, and I remember you saying that looked pretty slippy, that one, and it did, it slipped and it slipped multiple times.
Yeah.
You were talking on the other podcast with Jack about the best games of the decade, and it's like, yeah, Breath of the Wild, for me Rocket League, and the other one easily is The Last of Us. Like The Last of Us, the first one, was such a phenomenal game, both emotionally and I just love the game as a whole, like even the gameplay. I know some people don't love that gameplay, but just like the fact that they're doing that again with what we've seen of Last of Us Part 2, and I'll say what we've seen, I've tried to stay quite far away from anything quite recent. The last thing I think I saw this game was at one of the E3s they showed off, because I don't want to get spoiled, and I know that I hope I'm going to love this game. Naughty Dog haven't ever steered me wrong, not since Jack 2, and that's a whole other subject. But yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 just easily. As much as I would love to say also I can't wait for Animal Crossing and I can't wait for Cyberpunk, but easily Last of Us Part 2, and it's definitely coming out though.
So my most anticipated game for next year has to be The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, right, okay. This was your thing for last year, but you were quite right in saying that it probably wasn't going to come out last year. And
right, exactly. But now I'm really hopeful it better come out next year. Like, if it doesn't, something terrible has happened, right? The Last of Us is one of my favourite games of all time, and the sequel looks incredible from everything we've seen from it. It looks incredibly violent, and I'm really excited for it. The only thing I've been disappointed about was the announcement that it's not going to have multiplayer included. Yeah,
I was a bit surprised by that. Apparently that was the thing they were doing, but like to make sure that the game was coming out as polished as they want, they were focusing on the single player. So unfortunately, from what I've heard, the multiplayer had to get sidelined.
Right, and I can understand their reasoning. Like, if it was a choice between the single player and multiplayer coming out at the same time, but it being delayed, I'd rather they just release the single player. So fair enough. But yeah, I am hopeful that they haven't given up on that multiplayer and that it is gonna come later, either maybe in its own package.
Yeah, like they did that Left Behind DLC for like the first one. If they do, here's some DLC for the Last of Us Part 2, and also by the way, here's like the multiplayer, like we've actually managed to finish that up. That would be pretty cool.
Right, yeah, that would be perfect, and that's what I really hope happens.
I'll ask you, where do you think the story is going to go with this game?
So I watched a few of the trailers. I've sort of been trying to avoid reading too much into them because I don't want to spoil myself. So I'm really quite unsure. Like, obviously it's going to be based around Ellie and some aspects of vengeance that she set out for, but the cause of that I don't know, and what characters we're going to see coming back from the original I'm also not sure. I'm hopeful that it will be quite standalone from the original, and that the original was well finished as a story itself, so whatever story they want to tell, they've got space to just tell a new one, and if they can do something different with that'll be...
Yeah, I mean, because it's set, it's a good 6 years or something after the first one?
Right, yeah. So the world's obviously going to have changed, and it'll be interesting to see how they've decided to develop that world from what we saw originally, and whether they've decided to keep it the same, or whether they've decided because this time has passed it's now developed and works in a different way. That's where I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree. I just want to see where this goes. We've known about it for so long now. I really want to play this game.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your most anticipated game of next year? But I know what it is.
You already know what it is. It's the same game I said last year, but it got delayed, which I am not sad about in the slightest, because I want them to take as long as they need with this game. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Oh my god, it's been a very long time since I've been this excited for a game.
Yeah, I guess because it's been a year since like we've spoken about this game, because back then all we knew then was it was Animal Crossing on the Switch. That was it. Like we knew nothing about the subtitle or the premise. So what's your like take on this like New Horizons island sort of tour thing?
I love it. It's what I've wanted the Animal Crossing series to be probably since Wild World or something. Because up until now, every entry in the series has kind of been the same old. You know, you get a house from Nook, you go into crippling debt, and then you do random tasks for neighbors to get items and money to pay off that debt. But now they're adding like crafting mechanics, and they're building an island from the ground up, and there's so much depth there that wasn't in past Animal Crossing games, and that's what makes me so excited for this entry specifically. But at the same time, I am kind of worried
It strays too far from the formula that works sort of thing.
that too. More so, they're kind of just showing a lot of the beginning of the game, and that might just be because they're not ready to show off late game stuff. But it kind of has me worried, is this game gonna feel very front loaded, and like all the fun exciting stuff is gonna be at the beginning when you're first starting out on the island? Is it gonna get to a point where once you have your island established, it's gonna become repetitive and boring, and they're not gonna have much there to keep you around? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I guess you could say that for most Animal Crossing games, it is like once you have that established sort of like house and whatnot, it is just kind of the same thing that you know, it's still fun. Don't get me wrong. That's not a negative point to it or anything. But I think that is the thing with most Animal Crossing games is you get like that rush at the beginning, and then you just keep coasting and doing that same sort of thing. So you know, maybe that's the same thing with this game.
Yeah, I hope not, because you're completely right, and I feel like that's one of the things they need to fix with this series. Because in a perfect world, an Animal Crossing game should have a year's worth of content for you to experience.
Yeah, sure. Like there's always something new every week, like sort of thing.
Yeah, because it works in real time, but that's in reality, that's not always the case.
You think about Nintendo like the last few years, like how they've kept like Splatoon updated and how they've kept like even like Mario Tennis Aces, for example. Like they've been giving new content like every month and whatnot. I think that with this like new age of sort of online service, as it were, I could imagine that Animal Crossing, if they do this right, this could actually be really cool. Like you say, that they're giving us new things to do all the time.
Yeah, I'd like that. I just don't want them to go the Pocket Camp route. Pocket Camp has kind of like iffy, like Mario Kart Tour kind of gotcha systems, and I really hope they don't do that with this game.
I don't think they will. I don't think there will be any like pay to win thing. I think Nintendo very much seems to have like, they know what the mobile market is, and that they've very much got that separate from their main like sort of Switch formula.
I don't want it to seem like I'm mostly worried about this game. I am really excited about it. I think I'll really enjoy it, but who knows if it's just gonna feel like just another Animal Crossing, or if it's actually gonna be something greater and a much needed kind of like switch up for the series. That was unintentional. As I was saying, I was like, oh boy.
You can't just sneak a pun in there without me noticing.
Yeah.
Even if it was intentional or not.
This was so hard because there's a few games out next year that I'm really looking forward to. Like, the other games I considered are Final Fantasy VII and The Last of Us 2, but I decided to go with my gut instinct and go with Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Ah, nice.
I'm a big Animal Crossing fan. Let's Go to the City on the Wii was my most played Wii game at like 800 hours or something, or
Oh, wow.
I know, on the Wii. And the 3DS one, I think I played for like 200 hours, which isn't as big, but I still played it like so much. So New Horizons, oh boy. Animal Crossing is going to be my Stardew Valley, you know, the game I will just not stop playing forever.
I asked this about with Jack as well, because it was his most anticipated game of 2020, and I said to him what the new features that you're interested in, because obviously there's like a lot of differences in this new Animal Crossing. So what are you most looking forward to?
This is going to sound really strange, but I'm looking forward to like the quality of life improvements this rendition will offer.
I wouldn't say that's strange. That's quite a reasonable thing.
In the past games, I kept playing through it, but it was a pain in the ass to keep like items in like the same pocket all the time, and I had to like let go of like the fishing rods just to like make room for others. Whereas here it's like a separate toolkit, and I was like, wow, this is finally something I want, because I get sick of like occupying item space for it. So the fact that, you know, you're on an island and what other roles Isabel or Tom Nook could play, I've got to be honest, I haven't really looked into the game a lot because I want to keep the whole game like a surprise to me.
I'm the same actually. I've looked at the initial trailer, I looked at the reveal trailer, but I've not really kept up to date, and I'll try not to either, because like you say, I want to play this game so bad, so much so that it's like, oh, what's the point of like spoiling myself? I think not that you can really spoil too much in Animal Crossing, but like I just want to get and dive right in, basically.
I know. It's another strange thing too. I'm not normally into life simulation games. Like, out of all the genres in gaming, life simulation games is not one of my favourites.
Same.
I had to dedicate so much time into the game, and it's the kind of thing where, well, I'm already living my life as it is, but then I have to like do this stuff in The Sims, which I know that's the whole point of the game. It's just not my cup of tea. But because Animal Crossing doesn't have needs like The Sims do, and I'm a big collectible guy, and I'm a big completionist, so maybe just getting everything is just my main hook to the series. And interacting with the villagers too, because it's one of the most uplifting things I can feel with a video game, just when you can connect with who you live with in the town. But yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's gonna be incredible. I can just feel it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mine's kind of an easy choice as well, although I am looking forward to Animal Crossing very much. That's kind of a thing where I still don't kind of get a feeling of like what I'll be doing in it, because we don't really know that much about it. Like, at least at this point in recording, they've shown a bit of it, but we've not really seen it demoed since E3, and I assume there'll be more information coming up really soon, but don't really feel the hype very much. I'm looking forward to it, but I don't feel that hyped by Animal Crossing, so my most anticipated game by far is DoomEternal.
Oh, right.
Because I love Doom 2016. I had such fun with that, and everything that they've shown about this game looks better and better. It looks like a step up from the last one in every way. The sword, the zip line thing where you're zipping around and killing enemies, that looks so fun. Everything about it just looks like a more polished, even faster, more crazy version of Doom 2016. And you've got Hell on Earth. It appears it might be a bit more story driven this time. There's some interesting stuff going on there. You see a bit more of the Doomslayer's face, it looks like. So yeah, I'm just really interested to see what that turns out to be. I cannot wait for that, because I feel like that is a safe bet that will be fucking excellent, because I trust the people who make that, and everything they've shown looks phenomenal so far.
To be honest, if you make like an awesome game like Doom 2016, do you just add a grapple hook into that game and it's like, yeah, instantly, like the mobility in Doom Eternal looks so good, and that's what I sort of was really hoping for with a sequel to Doom.
Yeah, and it was already very good, so...
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so Doom Eternal. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess Watch Dogs 3 I'm really looking forward to. Doom Eternal is my most anticipated, but I honestly do have a soft spot for Watch Dogs, and I'll probably play that.
Yeah, I'm with you, because Watch Dogs 2 was actually a pretty good game.
It was, yeah, I really liked it.
So my most anticipated game would be whatever the sequel to Breath of the Wild is, but who knows if that's coming out.
Yeah.
So my most anticipated game is HalfLife Alyx.
I know that you're a big VR guy.
I love VR. There's so much potential there that I feel like isn't being reached yet. Resident Evil 7 was one of my favorite VR experiences of this past generation, because it was a game. It wasn't a tech demo. It wasn't some short experience, all of which are fine, but I have this feeling that Half-Life Alyx will bring it to both a new audience, but it'll also feel like a complete game. And I say that as somebody who's never beaten the Half-Life episodes, so I'm not this big Half-Life fanboy who's been, waiting for the next game forever. I've kind of accepted what is.
Yeah, because I mean, if anything, like, what are Valve going to do in 2020 for a game? Because they've not really made a proper game since like Portal 2 in 2011. You imagine that they're probably going to push the envelope with VR, that maybe do some things we've not seen yet.
Absolutely. I think they're going to take all the best of what they've learned about VR, because they've put out little demos here and there, which were neat and all, but couple that with, the hand technology that's with their knuckle controller, just knowing what works in VR. I think Half-Life Alyx can be really great, and I'm really hoping that they get it there.
Definitely. The one thing that, it's going to sound a bit strange, but the one thing that really got me in that trailer was the bit where the character that at the end, I guess you're Alex, right? So when you're moving the stuff on the shelf, and that's the one thing that I find with VR is sometimes there's not enough interactivity with the environment, so it feels very sterile. But then seeing stuff like that, you're like, oh, that world actually feels like you can interact with it, that is the cool thing to me.
And I love that they're not making this for PS4 as much as I like my PSVR. I think that could hold them back if they were, knowing that the technology just isn't as good. I think they're going to put serious money and time into this game. I don't think they would release a Half-Life Half-Life game if they weren't confident. From what I know, it's not the first Half-Life game they've worked on over the years. If they bring it like I think they're going to bring it, I think people are going to be even more surprised than they already were.
Yeah, I don't own, was it a Vive or any of the PC-orientated VR sets. I only own PSVR, so as much as I totally agree with you, like it's good that it's not coming on that system, it sucks because that's the only one I own.
That's technically the only one I own right now. I can play when I work if I want to, but...
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, my work don't have VR units.
I still think it's going to be that good, because there's a lot of cheap headsets out there now that are better than even the PSVR, so...
Here's hoping, because I mean, at the end of the day, so many people were hyped for this thing, and if it's anything less than amazing, people will be very disappointed.
And it'll be on somebody's most disappointed game of 2020. It is what it is. Yeah. They all can't please everyone.
So the game I am most looking forward to in 2020, Cyberpunk.
Oh yes.
I cannot wait for this game. I'm a big fan of the studio's games, the Witcher games. I'm a big fan of them. Played it so much. And Cyberpunk, I mean, it's got Keanu Reeves in it.
I've not played The Witcher 3, but that style of game doesn't interest me that much. I'm not into that kind of fantasy.
Yeah, you don't, because you don't like Elder Scrolls either, do you?
No, not really. It's not really my thing. I don't think it's bad or anything, but it doesn't really interest me as much.
To be honest, like fantasy games, you have to have that kind of mindset. If you enjoy them, you enjoy them. If you don't, you're never going to get into them.
Yeah, whereas Cyberpunk just looks fucking cool.
It's just like a first-person shooter put into some crazy-ass world with some great storytelling.
Did you play Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, or Human Revolution at all?
Yes, I played both of them.
Okay, that's cool, because I played the first one back in the last generation. I thought that game was awesome. I loved that. I loved Human Revolution.
I was a big fan of that game. I really enjoyed that.
Mankind Divided, the next generation should be the next step. Like Cyberpunk, looking at that, that's what that should be. Like that is the next step of what of this game. Like Mankind Divided was just more of what Human Revolution was. It didn't seem like to do anything new for the next generation. This just looks like it's a world that I want to like get involved in and get stuck in, because it just looks so dense.
From the tech demos I've seen of it so far, the gameplay, it is like the world feels like it's alive. Like there's so much going on. I'm kind of interested in actually how much of the game I'll play it, and rather just walk around and just kind of look at everything that's going on.
The only thing about this game for me is, I know you'll play on PC anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't have a PC, so I'll be playing on console. It does make me think, do I wait for next gen? Because it will inevitably, I'm sure, we'll get ported to next gen.
I'm pretty sure, I heard someone say that it is going to come out on next gen consoles as well. Yeah, I mean, because it is that thing, because being on PC, I mean, I've got a 1080 Ti, I'm not in the next gen of graphics cards yet, but even then it would still look better than what it does on the Xbox now. Yeah. And then when I decide to upgrade to a new graphics card, I can at least then experience it again with that, and then the graphics card will then be used for a long time. Whereas I guess with console, if you get it on this console, you're kind of going to be limited in seeing how good it looks, because I mean with consoles you can only get 60 frames per second at max, so I don't know what the new consoles are going to have in that sense of things when it comes to frames per second, so it'd be interesting to see if it's worth waiting for it or going for it on this gen.